excited.
Me too. So basically, I guess you kind of know the gist of the interview series here. This is Veritas Holistic Health and Fitness, and we are interviewing all the people that I admire that have somehow contributed to my health, my understanding, my wellness. And today we have the certified health nut, Troy Casey. Yeah. So you're one of the guys that really helped me out. You know, the Ripped at 50 campaign that you've been doing and the Purium. You're one of the big reasons I got into Purium, aside from the fact that it works really, really well. You know, I have my own personal testimony for it, but I'll save that for another date, another time. But the fact of the matter is you really live what you preach, and that's something that I admire. So without further ado, you know, thanks for coming.
Well, thanks for having me, and you know, that makes me feel good. You know, I live on this planet as well, and I have my own challenges, like everyone else. And you know, perfection doesn't exist, but if we can give some attention, some intention, some thought to what we're doing, and back that up with some action, you know, I think we can transform ourselves and, you know, ultimately transform the world that we're living in. You know, I worked in the Amazon for many years, you know, basically as a medicine hunter and really just exploring life on Earth in general and expanding my own consciousness with the plant medicine down there. And, you know, I saw very quickly the barges going down the tributaries, as well as all the logs going down even the smaller tributaries, the Amazon River itself. And then, of course, when you're getting into the big cities like Iquitos, there are sawmills and piles of sawdust there. And you start looking into the environmental aspect of that, and this is the lungs of the earth. And so, you know, I don't have a problem with industry. I live in wood-built houses. I burn fossil fuels just like everyone else. The essence of what I'm doing here on the internet, as well as just, you know, life on Earth, as a messenger, really, it's just simply time to upgrade the systems. Efficiency, optimization, evolution. This is something we've always done, and it's just time to do that. We have some old dinosaurs that are running things as business as usual, and you know, that's starting to show cracks and holes, and it's just old. It's just old, and things need to be transformed and upgraded and optimized. Perfect example is what we're seeing in Porter Ranch right now. There's immediate brownout. It's almost a blackout, except for the governor of California called it a state of emergency a few weeks ago. So the cat is out of the bag, even though it's not national television every single night. But it's as big as that. It's as big as the Gulf spill. You know, the Gulf spill we had in 2010, 5 years ago. We got Fukushima. You know, these types of things are still, the ramifications are still coming through, just like Chernobyl.
Absolutely.
So, and the problems that we're dealing with Porter Ranch and the Gulf and these types of things could have been sidestepped if people would have paid attention to originally the assessments that were done on these businesses and the potential problems. And sure enough, problems do eventually happen. Mechanical parts wear out, and lo and behold, we have a world catastrophe on our hands. And this is just one of many. Whether it's, you know, clear cutting the Amazon rainforest, clear cutting the old growth forests in Northern California, Oregon, et cetera, et cetera. So my message to everyone is, you know, healthy me equals a healthy planet. How can we expect the world to be healthy if, you know, we are not healthy first? And the first thing that you realize once you do get healthy is you look around, you see the statistics. 70% of the American people are obese right now. That was 62% when I started my company, Certified Health Nut. That's exponential growth, and it's 8% in a small amount of time, less than 10 years. It grew 8%. That's exponential growth. And guess what? 70% is not far away from 100%. And 100% includes me and my family and my genetic expression. So it's time for some action. And so everything that I do online, I live and breathe personal and planetary wellness first awakening the human being to being healthy, getting this instrument, fine-tuned to the frequency and vibration of the earth and the collective consciousness. And so, putting nature into your body, there's a Schumann resonance, there's a frequency and vibration coming off of the earth. We're affecting that with electromagnetic frequency. These are stresses on the human body. And so to keep everything in balance while this is happening, is a full-time job. And so that's why I'm very earnest on helping people wake up, helping people awaken to our symbiotic relationship to the nature. We are nature. There is no separation. As above, so below is the natural law of correspondence. And so once we're aware of this, then we can start making decisions. And I like to use the phrase, eventually, once you become healthy, you realize it's not a good idea to poop in your spoon and shove it in your mouth. And basically, that's what we're doing with the air, the water, and the soil with toxic compounds. And so, again, I enjoy living on planet Earth. I enjoy the systems that we've created, the concrete buildings, I love fast cars. I love traveling around the world on jet airplanes. There are many things of this world that I really enjoy. I'm not anti-life. I'm not anti-enjoyment. I'm just for full human liberation and optimization and upgrades and evolving the systems. So the systems work for us. They're not limiting us. And if anyone thinks, what's wrong? I'm not limited. Nothing's happening to me. And it's like, okay, well, who wants to live in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Darfur, anywhere else that has natural resources that makes your MacBook Pro or your iPhone or, tungsten, tin, other things that make modern day life functionable for the Westerner. And so I live in Santa Monica, California. This type of consciousness is coming home to roost on my backyard. I have 4,000 Iraqi veterans that live on the beaches here. We pay taxes. You've got gas tax, you've got sales tax, you've got all sorts of taxes that we are taxed on. And so the homeless situation puts a burden on the city and the county that I live in. And so we end up paying for that. And so, upgrade the systems. I don't have all the answers, but it's time to upgrade the systems. And I think if we took a fraction of our military budget and we spent that on upgrading the systems, I think that we could create enough food and energy and goodness to go around for every man, woman, and child on planet Earth. And I'll end with this quote right here. I heard that in 2008, after Lehman Brothers and Goldman Sachs crashed the housing market, that Obama, instead of bailing out the banks, they could have bought every man, woman, and child in the United States a 3-bedroom home. And instead, we bailed out the banks, the people that caused the problem itself. So this is crony capitalism, predatory capitalism at its best. I'm an entrepreneur. I love success. However, the system's rigged, guys, and it's just time to level the playing field.
Absolutely. And I like what you said. I mean, I think that we've gotten to this point where we've put money, this fake paper currency, above just common damn sense. It's gotten to this point where you will shit in a spoon and people are eating it and they're calling it, candy, and that's, they're stuffing it down our throat. And it's it's interesting because, I was reading these statistics that we literally have enough food to feed everybody in the world and have some left over. The problem with it is everybody has got this mindset that, it's getting it to the people they'd rather it go into the ocean or die and rot on the vine than give it away or provide for others. And so I think there comes this ego, issue that we have to overcome. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think a lot of that, again, has to do with, business. Nature's first law is self-preservation, and that includes entities, even fictitious entities known as corporations. So just by default, a corporation, pays its bottom line, dividends to shareholders, et cetera, et cetera. This is success in business, and it's just the system. Whether you look at it bad or good, it took us to one point, and then, okay, can we look at that, and is that where we want to be, or can we upgrade the systems? Well, there's a whole bunch of people getting paid on that and living fat, fat on the cow. They don't want to change, and that's understandable. However, because we're so connected, I like Dr. Bronner's soap, all one or none is what Rabbi Hillel taught Jesus. We're all connected. We're all, connected to nature. So we're all one, then you want to take care of your brother. Whether they're in Afghanistan or Iraq, anyhow, it doesn't matter because, people end up coming over here as refugees anyhow, eventually. And so, but if we're just, contaminating other parts of the world, we have the ability to contaminate the earth here. Look what's happening in Porter Ranch. Look what's happening in mountaintop removal for coal in Virginia and Tennessee, and these spills, these environmental spills that happen that, again, media brownout, yeah, there's some information that happens, but people don't focus on that. We're not building systems around it. We're not rallying the human beings, the troops. Everyone should be marching in the street, especially the women. The women are the ones who, are the caretakers of the children and the genetic expression of our species. And so there's something very wrong on the planet right now because these toxic compounds are ending up in the air, the water, and the soil, and it's ending up in, childhood obesity and cancer and leukemia and all these weird diseases, these genetic deformities that are happening. And so, my thing is it's just time to call a spade and start looking at transforming the systems so they're at least beneficial for all. My vision for Certified Health Nut is clean air, water, soil, and equitable systems for all mankind. Some people say that is impossible with the current money situation and the way it's set up. I mean, we are literally manufacturing garbage. I've got garbage in my house. I've got 2 small children. I'm constantly telling my wife, we don't need to buy more stuff. We don't need to buy more stuff. And so, the bottom line is we keep accumulating it, and we're not doing things that are optimized, and lo and behold, it's a good thing. The world is changing because, you can use technology positively. Look at Airbnb and Uber. These are systems that are optimizing. They're optimizing what we have. There's cars on the road. You can use that as a taxi service. There are empty apartment buildings or empty rooms. You can use that as a hotel service instead of continuously building more materials that, just more and more and more stuff. And so my point is optimization, efficiency, on many levels. And then when you have extra and when you optimize the systems, you can include the others that have been raped and pillaged over the years. I mean, people think that Africa, it's a bunch of poor black people and they don't know how to grow their own food. That's bullshit. That's an absolute lie. Industry has gone over there and raped and pillaged the land. CIA, coup d'etats, funding and arming rebels to fight against each other. Divide and conquer is the oldest trick in the book. So you get groups of people to start fighting together, and then nobody's watching the natural resources. You just take them right out of the ground and you move them, or you store toxic waste. Over in Africa, the whole coup d'etat in the Ivory Coast a few years ago was all about that, storing toxic waste over there. And so, the Middle East is the same. It's a big can of worms. And those people are our brothers and sisters. I know they like it to make out, that there's terrorisms. I get that. But, at what cost? what started that? What's the root? Both of us are educated in holistic health. What's the root cause of what people are doing? I don't think people in general are inherently psychopaths. I think people inherently are good in the heart. Problem is that the systems have left people hopeless. And let me tell you, I'm a warrior at heart as well. My land gets conquered. My children get murdered in front of me. I'm picking up a weapon. I'm killing people.
Exactly.
That's the bottom line. That's human nature. You're going to protect and you're going to fight because that's nature's first law. And so can we get together and work with cooperation? I think Greg Braden's got a bunch of research on this. Organisms at the collective level work together. And so the essence of biomimicry is life creates conditions conducive for life. That's so the genetic expression, 10,000 generations down the line, will have an environment to express itself. Exactly. What a revolutionary concept that is. I recommend everybody watch that movie. A friend of mine, she made that movie for Leonardo DiCaprio's environmental foundation. It's called Biomimicry, and she did a TED Talk as well. Brilliant stuff. And this goes right along in the alignment with all these, kooks praying down to scientism and all this junk science and research bias. And you have any scientific proof for that? Because people are always lambasting me. Chemicals are, food's made up of chemicals. Everything's made up of chemicals. Yes, this is true. However, there's a big difference between forced toxic bonds of chemicals that are at the opposite end of the chart being forced together with high heat in a short amount of time, making mystery compounds that are now just running rampant in the environment. And lo and behold, we have all this weirdness showing up from these potential, Zika viruses, and who knows what all these viruses are. It could be propaganda, could be real, could be man-made, could be, environmental calamity. Bottom line is it's time to start using our intelligence. And one of the best ways to use your intelligence is to start putting organic materials into your body. Your body's made up of organic materials. If you want to build a set of eyeballs and a spinal cord, I think it's a good idea to put some organic food into your body. If you're putting in microwave packaged day glow crap, what's going to happen? Let's look at the statistics.
We have experiments. We have little kids running experiments on plants, microwaving water, letting it cool off, pouring it on plants, and it's killing the plant. And this isn't high science. This is just common damn sense at some level. You have to add. You have to add common sense. You have to take a look up from the microscope every so often and look at what's happening in the world. And you're right. You got all these things that are. The world is in calamity in a lot of ways, and I'm a natural warrior with you. I'm looking at all these things. I'm seeing people's health diminish. I mean, in the 16 years that I've done this, I've seen a diminished return for most people. And then I've seen other people that have chosen organic, that have pushed, that have pioneered, that have created the stuff like Purium or just general organic farmers that are putting their lives on the line. And it changes the person at such a cellular level that its vibrational rate is just different. So you have this person that is no longer bogged down by junk and fake chemicals and microwaves and all these other lifestyle issues, but they're actually able to think more clearly, they're able to articulate, they're able to actually have enough energy to fight for others and for the planet. And then you have the people that aren't. So what's your take on getting the person to the first step? Because I feel like I call it the cornflakes and Cocoa Puff crowd. They've gotten to a point where their thinking has lost touch with reality at such a level that these chemicals are putting a dirty lens in their filtration system. And how do we get our clients from this first step of, hey, I go through McDonald's drive-in, I microwave my food, I, don't think about any of this stuff. I actually don't want to think about any of this stuff. Put my fingers in my ears. Where do you start with your clients?
Well, for me, it's simple. My main thing is I work on attraction factor. I, I am myself, and so I go out into the world with whatever authenticity I am, right? Imbued by the gifts of the Creator, I am, and so I put myself out there on the internet to show my own personal experience aligning with nature, and so for me, it's very simple. They can act happy if they're fat, or they can hide behind it. But the fact of the matter is, with the culture that we have, Vogue magazines, People magazines, people looking skinny and fit, people that have the money for organic food and personal trainers. The Kardashians, very popular television show as well. The thing is the Kardashians have gotten into plastic surgery now, and that's going to end up it's already starting to show. But the bottom line is sex sells is something that's never going to go away. They already know this. Again, nature's first law is self-preservation. At the hormonal level, we all want to get laid. That is the bottom line. That's not going away ever. That's basic biology. And so that's genetic expression. That's planting seed. And so once people can recognize, and usually getting laid goes hand in hand with love or expressing, having a family, wanting to be loved, wanting to give love. These are fundamental elements wrapped in our hormonal and biochemical nature. And so this is happening whether people ignore it or not. And so if people want to be honest, that's where the internet really comes in handy. I believe that the internet is divinely orchestrated. It's yin-yang, positive, negative, masculine, feminine, like everything else in our world. However, I believe it has a true positive spin because people can now tune in to other people on reality television on steroids. You can flip on basically any subject that you want and look at some other person living a different life. And so, lo and behold, if you want to be healthy, again, I'm not God's gift to bodybuilding, God's gift to fitness, God's gift to health. I'm just a 50-year-old guy that took care of myself sometimes. I partied and lived an exciting life for many years, but I take care of myself most of the time. I live a holistic and organic lifestyle. And so this is what can be achieved if you do it, is basically the example that I'm holding up. And so, I've had my own difficulties. I've had injuries. I've lost a lot of weight in my life. I've gained a lot of weight in my life. When I was in college, I gained the freshman 15. The freshman 15 is no longer the freshman 15. It's the freshman 30. And so, so if people want to learn how to take care of themselves, I just took a workshop at my son's Waldorf school. And Waldorf education is phenomenal. It's another thing that I think will really transform this world. What she was saying is that the universities are really worried because the freshmen are coming in and they literally do not know how to take care of themselves at all. And so this is creating a burden on the university systems. And so great. If someone's fat, if someone's got pimples, if someone's got gut dysbiosis, if they can't poop properly, their farts smell like hell, they're waking up their dormitory roommate because it smells like hell, your girlfriend's vagina smells like hell, people can just go on the internet. Stinky vagina. And lo and behold, you can get some solutions and you can start figuring it out and start inching your way towards it. And if you find someone like me or someone like you, Scott, or JP Sears, or many of the other Czech practitioners that have YouTube channels, even Elliot Hulse, who's extremely popular, he's holistically educated. And he's attracting, anywhere from 14 to 36-year-old alpha males, which is great because those guys, you can eat anything up to a certain point, depending on your metabolism. And then, lo and behold, if you're getting pimples, or if you're not getting laid, or if you've got erectile dysfunction, you're flipping on Elliot Hulse and you're being like, oh my God, well, Elliot's talking some truth. I better eat some clean food. Oh, lo and behold, I eat some clean food. And I feel better. And I keep practicing it. And I keep listening to Elliot. Who's Elliot's friends with? Elliot's friends with Paul Chek. Oh, wow. Paul Chek's friends with Troy Casey. Oh, my God. And Sean Croxton, the Underground Wellness. All these people are connected. The Rob Ross. Well, those guys are handsome guys. They've got six-pack abs. They're playing around in nature. There might be another way to live besides what the garbage is being sold on television. And what I've been taught in school. And so
it's a huge one.
To me, this is the internet's magic. It's magic in so many different ways, and we are evolving. I never want to come off like a victim, and so the way I look at it, humanity is basically we're the shoot of grass coming through the concrete, and we basically through the oppression we're going to learn how to come up like a shoot of grass. And that's what's happening. We're like, whoa, there's 7 billion people on the planet right now, and we're chopping down the trees, we're poisoning the water, we're poisoning the air. I mean, this is disgusting. I mean, I don't like it. I'm vocal about that. So if you've got zits and you're fat and you can't get laid and people are making fun of you, well, it's time to wake up. So for me, all this stuff is a perfect storm, and I say the consciousness is going to pop. And there's more and more information like that coming out every day on the internet. So
absolutely. It's just a tool, right? Tools can be used in any way we choose to use them, positively or negatively.
Yeah, oppression is a tool. It's fodder for the soul to continue to awaken up, deeper. Look, if you're Nelson Mandela, you turned that oppression into a 27-year meditation, and he came out and led a country. Absolutely. I mean, so there are no victims. It's just time to wake up, guys.
Absolutely.
If you want to get laid and you want to attract the opposite sex, and take care of your own instrument, become attractive, take care, be cool, be cool enough to love yourself, because you can't really love another unless you love yourself, and that attracts someone else that's also very interesting. Unless you just want to attract more dysfunction, there's plenty of that in the world, but that gets old fast.
Absolutely. So let's touch base. You mentioned some of the stuff that you do for your kids, and I think that's pretty amazing. I get to, be a voyeur into your life sometimes and get to see you taking your kids on interesting trips and this Waldorf school. One of the best books is that book's Weapons of Mass Instruction, about how our education system is basically just a center to indoctrinate our children, to get them to become good workers, to kind of numb out, to make it through the day. And to me, that's not okay for my children. That's not okay for me. That's not okay for my family. And clearly that's not okay for you and your family. Tell me a little bit more about your experience with that alternative sort of school, in the sense that it's not this churn and burn, pump out a good obedient slave. What made you choose that? What do you do for that? I know you've spoken on how much it takes for you to earn, to ensure that you do this. Put a little more insight behind that.
Yeah, okay, so those are some pretty deep topics. Well, first of all, I got kicked out of every school that I ever went to. I was born on this earth with, a firecracker, underneath my butt. So, I was ready to rock and roll as soon as I got here. People with authority were, to me, they had no position to have authority, and they were trying to have dominion over me. And I didn't put up with that from day one. And so, number one, I got kicked out of every school that I ever went to. And then when I went to college and I was putting myself through school, I did well when I wanted to learn. And one of the best educations I got was traveling as a model, just traveling all around the world, using different currencies and speaking different languages and connecting with other cultures. So I realized that there must be another way. And if the systems have created what they have created, then all of a sudden I've got to a 4-year-old, what are we going to do? And I started hearing inklings of the Trivium. I started hearing, I went to the Trivium website, and there was John Taylor Gatto, the author of Weapons of Mass Instruction. I watched 4 hours of, basically, it was probably the essence of that book, about how the school system works, how the mind is programmed, also working with Paul Chek, watching some of his videos on children, knowing that the mind sees in images, and that Disney and these other major corporations realize that, and they hire the top neuroscientists, the top psychologists, child psychologists, to climb into the mind of the children from 2 years or earlier and brand them for life. And so I was very interested in, no TV for sure, and then at the same time, the computer and phone use was just coming out of nowhere and just took over our lives as well. And so, lo and behold, we did a year at public school, and the last thing that John Taylor Gatto said was, the interviewer asked, what advice do you have for parents? And he said, no homework. Don't let the children do homework. It takes the will of the child away. Children should be out there playing. So I remember that. And as soon as they went to kindergarten, they were teaching them how to read. That side, the creative side of the brain is developing. The nonlinear, creative, problem-solving right brain hemisphere is developing up until, I believe, 9 to 11. And so when you're cramming linear, linguistic, mathematic elements into the brain, it stunts that part of the development and growth and may never develop again. And lo and behold, that's the problem-solving side. And so you look out in the world, we're not solving our problems. We're still regurgitating the same thing over and over again. Well, what about the economy? What about the economy? What about the economy? And the economy's chopping the rainforest down and contaminating the air, water, and soil. So right away, I consulted with Paul Chek, and he broke it down with the whole Waldorf school system and how Steiner downloaded this information a long time ago about how the brain works, and they treat the children as a spiritual being coming from the spirit world, into the earth plane. Their bones are formulating through nutrition, and it was just brilliant. It made so much sense. So we committed to the Waldorf education for our children for at least their formative years, and it's paying off. My son is such an interesting fellow, and he's interested. He engages with adults, and it's brilliant because adults aren't expecting that. Most kids, you see them out there today, they're checked out, they're in their phones, and my son, he's got a zero media policy. He has to engage in another way. So he's interested and he's interesting. And my daughter's the same way. And they're very dynamic. I'm social. I think socialization is a huge part of development. And, I take them out camping. I socialize on Santa Monica Beach. I live in Santa Monica Beach. Nature heals everything is one of my primary personal philosophies, working philosophies. And so I get them out into nature as much as possible. I learned a long time ago when they start screaming and throwing their trucks and toys against the windows and stuff, it's time to get outside the house. And lo and behold, you put them outside the house, little stick, dirt, and rocks, and they're just playing for hours, just doing nothing. Now they go to Waldorf and they build little fairy houses and they tell little stories around it, and they totally entertain themselves. It's magical. It's unbelievably magical. I think every human being, not only that, but me and my wife are healing ourselves. I'm healing so much because there was things that I knew and understood but couldn't put words to them, and Waldorf puts words to them. I go to all the continuing education classes that they offer as much as possible, and just the interaction with the school, with the teachers, any advice that I have, discipline stuff, the teachers all help us out with that. So a lot of that came down to rhythms. Paul Chek teaches about this as well. Being fed and slept at the right times, enough rest, relaxation, play, rest, art, up and down rhythms of the day. And this, lo and behold, takes care of the discipline. When the rhythms are out, that's when people start getting crazy. So you get back to rhythms, you get back to close proximity to your children. If you have an issue with your children, I just learned something in a course the other day, the resonance of the heart will shift the resonance of the heart of the child. So the idea is your state is the state of your child. And so, learning all these things are just fascinating, and being able to implement them in real time and getting real results. We don't have big behavioral problems. The only person that's got behavioral problems is me, and I'm still healing it. Exactly. So Waldorf education is just a brilliant no-brainer. Taking the children into nature as much as possible, feeding them only organic food. Purium just came out with an all-organic children's supplement line. All the kids are getting sick in school, and we're just giving them the little immune shield and the MVP, the protein and the phytonutrients with cracked chlorella for the kids. It's got growth factor. Kids are developing, perfectly. They're taking in massive amounts of, nutrition. We cook 3 meals a day. We feed them nutritious foods to go off to school. So they are physically, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually loved on all levels. And so for everything else, I don't worry about whether my child's going to be a scientist or a hockey player or an engineer. He's got an incredible mind, and he's packed with tools and nutrition to back it up. So, and they're picking up on all my organic stuff, man.
Exactly.
They're hip, man. They're hip to the.
They're always watching you, aren't they? They live by example. Well, it's interesting. I was actually reading this article from another. I think he's a pastor, but he was interesting. He's actually done some of the brain mapping and the brain work, and he was showing the same stuff you're talking about. This right brain stuff is opening up. The creative centers, the intuitive centers, the spiritual centers, and the left brain is this linear, logical stuff, which is important at a certain point, like you said, about age 11, 9 to 11. But the other thing he was saying that was so fascinating was he was talking about how when the only way to connect to some of the deeper brains, which, when we think of deeper brains, a lot of times we're thinking of this reptilian brain, but what he was pointing out was that we have a gut brain, and we have a heart brain, that we have these neurons in the gut and in the heart that actually get shaped, and they're only connected to the right brain. And if you have an underdevelopment in the right brain, oftentimes you're disconnected from the heart, you're disconnected from your gut instincts, your intuition. And this, I personally think our handlers are pushing us into that left brain to keep those other connections, the gut instincts, the heart instincts at bay. So that resonates complete with me, and I love that you're being able to take that on yourself. And I mean, I think that's awesome that they're integrating the adult in with the children, because then everyone's going to be getting that healing and on that same page and that connection, which is what I think most people are looking for.
Yeah, occasionally I watch these shows up in Alaska, and you just look at what people really need, for survival and the types of skills that they need. And you look at a domesticated city dweller, a concrete jungle dweller, we don't have much skills, for survival. We just go down to the store and buy it. And so, and if you look at the fact that there's 7 billion people on the planet and the potential for us not to upgrade our systems until absolute calamity collapses them, you might need some skills for survival. That's not my vision. However, I'm going to give my children a fighting chance. I mean, I want to give them enough mental resiliency, physical, emotional resiliency. I'm not a big helicopter, dad whatsoever. They fall in the street, man. Get up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, it's not boo-hoo. You're a child. Your bone marrow is going to come out and heal you much faster than any other, human that's older. And so you've got the equipment. Get up and let's not cry over our spilt milk. And just being in nature in general, the frequency and vibration of nature, and being outside and moving that human body, across the midline, jumping and running and skipping, as above, so below. That is a natural law that never ever goes away. So, as the body develops gross motor skills, it can also do fine motor skills. As the mind develops, the body develops. As the body develops, the mind develops. And so, these are critical components. And we used to do all this stuff. I grew up in the 70s, and for a time I lived in the country on a lake, and we skated in the winter, and, we hiked in the snow, and in the summer we swam also. I mean, we were outside all the time. And, I just don't see that resiliency out in the world today. And so, I want to give my children as much as I possibly can. So I give them, the modern world, the private school element. I give them organic food, and then, I give them out into nature. And you're bored? I'll throw you in the water. It's cold.
Right, exactly. Well, you're giving them the capacity not to be afraid of nature. You had mentioned earlier, what's the root of all these problems? And I think a lot of it's fear. We're afraid of nature at its fundamental level because we've been taught to disconnect. There's a lot of people that won't walk barefoot outside. I mean, I have clients that sometimes they're freaking out if I'm like, do some qigong in the grass. They're like, dude, I don't want the grass to touch me. And this is, a symptom of a bigger, a deeper root, which is, you got love or you got fear. You don't really have the capacity for anything else unless you manage those. And how are you living? So I love that you're getting your children to love nature, and I think that's hypercritical. You want to speak any on that?
Well, I love nature, and it helps me. And I'm a concrete jungle dweller. I spent time medicine hunting in the Amazon, and I love the Amazon. But I'm also a domesticated human as well, and I'm not into just, either or, black and white, good and bad. And so I'm a very social person, so I like the city. And at the same time, I live in, my backyard is the Pacific Ocean, one of the most remote places on the planet. You go far enough out. So I've got the major city this way, and then I've got, absolute desolation that way. So, I live, I'm walking the razor's edge. This summer, my plan is to go to Yosemite and also back to the Grand Canyon, and really just look and feel the wonder and the awe of nature for myself. I mean, it's my own connection. This earth is so amazing and so spectacular, and I think it's it's here for our enjoyment, for our spiritual essence, to be in a physical body and to experience all of it. If the listeners out there have not been to Yosemite National Forest and spent a few days on the floor in Yosemite, I highly recommend you do it. March 15th, April 15th, the campsites open up 4 months in advance. You have to be on it first thing in the morning. As soon as it clicks 7 on your computer, you have to click the button. And, go out there and experience 4,000-foot granite walls. It's a granite cathedral. That alone will change your life. And that's not the only one. You've got the Grand Canyon, you've got Arches, you've got, you've got Yellowstone, you've got all these major places out here in the West, and there's national forests everywhere. And so, that type of experience will tune you up. I have a friend, he owns a superfood company, and he says he packs a backpack and he packs everything in. He goes hiking maybe 10, 15 hours in the hot springs up near Big Sur. And that's his hospital. He checks in, he checks out, his phone doesn't work up there, and he stays up there for 10 days in hot springs and just camps. And that's his medicine. That's how he tunes himself up, for the rest of the year. And, look at the way we're working these days. We're living in these cities. Cell phone towers are everywhere. Air, water, and soil is contaminated. Psychic density, psychic energy. So all these stress levels, they end up summating in the body, and people don't really have outlets to release them. If you got a good meditation practice, you do. If you got a good nature practice, you do. You got a good qigong practice, or weightlifting, functional fitness. You have ways to alleviate these stressors. But with the economy and digital communications, you have to be doing, an equal amount of meditation, nature, movement, art, whatever floats your boat. I just picked up on ice skating.
I noticed.
So you've got to balance those things out. I mean, my businesses will drive me crazy too. Trying to communicate with people, on the internet, that'll drive me crazy if I just do it all the time. And so I've got to be able to disconnect and put myself over here. I like business. I like being able to drive myself for success. That's one component of my manifestation here on planet Earth. However, I got to balance that with other aspects of life, or I'm not efficient at business. I'm not as effective. So, balance is a large part of my message. Balance, not perfection. Perfection doesn't exist. We're always a work in progress. And I think we have to remember that as we watch the Kardashians and their nice tits and ass on the TV screen.
Well, exactly. Balance is the key because it's always moving, and the line's moving. And I think that's the interesting, aspect is it reminds me, I've started taking some private martial arts stuff with a guy that I respect for he's been studying this for 20, 25 years. And when I first started, the only thing I wanted to know is well, should I do this? He's like, well, that depends. Because it depends on what the other person does. It depends on if we're in motion. It depends on all kinds of things. And after about 100 times of me is this the right way? He's like, it's all about balance, man. You don't know. You're responding to life. You're responding to the situation. You're responding to all this stuff. And that's the only way you can be in balance. And if you have this hard line, you're never going to, you're going to get stuck. You're going to only have one solution to a problem, and you're never going to be adaptable. And, adaptation's the way to create the balance, And that's fascinating, but it was really challenging because I like to know the right thing and do what's the right answer. And that's definitely been, part of my healing is to be able to go, okay, all right, I'll just learn this and then we'll put it in motion, we'll put it into practice. So, I think that's a great philosophy, balance there. One of the questions I wanted to know, and this is just me being nosy and busting into your personal life, but how did you and Yuri meet? Yuri's your beautiful wife, and she's so helpful to a lot of our businesses and stuff. And I think that it'd be good for everybody to kind of know, how do you guys meet? What brought you together?
My wife was a gift from God, plain and simple. Let's see. Well, as I started to wake up and clean my own body and mind up, and I came from a good run of partying and drugs and alcohol. And
some self-sabotage, as Jason Christoff would say.
What's that?
Some self-sabotage, as Jason Christoff would say.
Yeah, and just exploring the boundaries of my life. And
push it.
Yeah, so, I had a lot of really good times, living in Milan, Paris, London, Miami, Tokyo, meeting a lot of interesting people, making some good money, and then just partying, hard. And I really enjoyed my life, but it was, at the end of the day, a lot of self-sabotage. And when I finally got a grip on that, I had cleaned my life up. Luckily, I had some holistic tools underneath my belt. I've been juicing for 25 years, and so I got into fasting and internal purification. I knew herbs to take care of my liver, so I had an ability to balance out the physical components of that. And then I got into meditation and other things, just different aspects of life, really. And from there, Hollywood nightclubs didn't really entertain me, especially when I'd been out dancing in Europe and in Japan, and people party till all hours of the night. Here it ends at 2, and it's kind of like this big see and be seen thing, and people aren't friendly. So I was like, Hollywood just didn't float my boat for going out and partying, even when I was sober, going out dancing either. So I would just go to the health food store and get a fresh squeezed juice and hang out, socialize, and there was always good-looking girls there. And I was hanging out at the health food store one hot evening in Santa Monica, and my wife walked up, and she was interesting looking, and she came out. She forgot her credit card or something, so she came out like 2 or 3 times to her car. And finally, we just struck up a conversation, and I'm always promoting something. And I think my friend had an art show in Venice, and I gave her that. And she came out, and she looked like $1 million, and I was like, oh my God. And I wasn't into marriage. I never believed in marriage because of the dysfunction that we've made it into, and the paperwork and the legalities, and half of all marriages end in divorce. Higher and affluent communities. So I was like, that's just another 3-ring circus. And but my wife was from Korea. She'd been here for many years, and after 9/11, she had problems with her visa, and I was just like, I'm an American. I have the right to marry you, and so I'll just marry you. You can stay here, no problem. We started working together with the Amazon Herb Company. She was very successful. The Koreans like herbs anyhow, and we had very clean herbs. And so she won a trip to the Amazon, and I said, you're going to win this trip to the Amazon. And she goes, yeah, but I can't go because of my visa. And I was like, nah, I'll just marry you, no problem. And so, but it was like I tricked myself into marriage, because as soon as we did the paperwork, I think we went to Vegas. As soon as we did the paperwork, and we were enjoying each other and having sex, and I was like, do you want to get pregnant? You want to have kids? And I had already been to the Amazon. I had this vision of basically my family that developed. The spirit of my daughter came. This was 5 years after I was married. I had her. So I was kind of like on the hunt. Is it this woman? Is it that woman? And Yuri and I got together, and we just ended up falling in love. We conceived little Troy soon after that. And then it's really been a development of my own consciousness. Here's a guy who didn't believe in marriage because of all the bullshit that it represents in our modern day society. Yet I'm with a woman, and I've been around the world, and I've slept with many different women. I was never really a big playboy, but I've had my fair share of experiences. And you always think the grass is greener, and I want this or I want that. And I'm like, here's a woman that is very intelligent. She's very kind and sweet. She has a good heart. She's a good business person. She's like the perfect package. She's beautiful. What else is there really in life? And I was 40 at the time. I was like, so I kind of ended up doing some math in my head. And it's like, just be happy with what you have. And we went to bed last night, and I realized, I've got such an amazing life. Our kids are great. I spend as much time correcting my own consciousness on the way I behave in my family, my dedication. I've rededicated myself to my marriage and to my family so many times. And we went through some very difficult times a couple of years ago. Second child came. One of my business tanked. My wife went back to work. I was taking care of the kids. We needed more money. Our house had black mold in it. We were all getting sick. We moved 7 times. I mean, we literally had every curveball thrown at us. And I just kept committing myself. I mean, I'll be the best father that I can be and the best husband I can be. I don't know how, but that was my intention and my commitment. And we've been through many of the difficulties that plague modern day marriage. And we came out at the other end, and my wife and I have never been more in love. The studying with Montauk Chia and the sexual kung fu has definitely helped a lot. I recommend any couple, and even if you're not a couple, but you're looking to get married or get involved with someone, start studying sexual kung fu and tantra now to really help understand your own sexuality. Sexuality is a bit of a taboo, and so I think if you can start diving deep into that now, it can help not only attract a partner, but also go deeper into your relationship once you have a partner. Plus, it's extremely powerful as far as anti-aging and just deeper commitment to intimacy. And so now, we're just exploring deeper levels of our dream, of our commitment, of what we're here to do on the planet, of how we're here to help ourselves. So, it's not all cherries and roses, but the great thing is that we get to keep coming back and resting on our commitment to a greater capacity for love, a greater capacity for higher levels of expression of happiness on this planet. We are living on the edge of, a quote unquote, perfect life in this crazy world that we've created, and we're doing our best to stay balanced at the same time. And so, my whole essence of authenticity is really just exemplifying things of what's possible. I don't have a perfect life. We have problems just like anybody else. We have sickness, we have issues in our family. However, we keep coming back to that balance element, creating strong rhythms so that we can enjoy our life more, because we have a baseline of healthy rhythms. We have a baseline of nutrition. We have a baseline of sleep. We have a baseline of movement. We have a baseline of play. We have a baseline of hydration, high quality water. We have a baseline of positive thoughts, affirmations, prayer, eating together. We have a baseline of that. So if things go haywire, we know where the baseline is. If things get slumped, we know where the baseline is. So we can come up and work towards it. So we're never that far, out of balance. And if we do, my wife is committed, and because we've recommitted ourselves, the children have seen that as well. And they know that there's ups and downs and there's no perfections. And sometimes you got to deal with a pile of tough shit.
Sometimes. Exactly. Well, man, I think that's a really good thing. And I think that, recommitting yourself on a regular basis to yourself, sometimes even in your health, is as necessary as it is to your marriage and your kids and life itself. So, I think that's a great story. I appreciate you sharing that with us and with our viewers, So you've been amazing, man. I think that there's a lot more we could get into, but I think people's attention span, it doesn't push past much more than an hour. So I would love to have you come back if you're up for it.
Anytime.
Absolutely, man. Well, thanks again. And where can everybody check you out? You're the Certified Health Nut, but where can they get a hold of you?
So anything Certified Health Nut, Troy Casey, Google is a great way to get a hold of me. But more importantly, I'm looking to I am building a large global network of health and wellness entrepreneurs. And I'm working with Purium. I recommend people go to workingwithtroy.com to understand the magnitude of what we're doing with that company. I've aligned with David Sandoval and his farm to family mission to get the world healthy. We've got a 10-day cleanse, and we've got core nutrition products to help people balance their biochemistry daily. We've got green food nutrition, herbal nutrition, loaded with antioxidants, all whole foods, superfoods. And so I'm looking for people, not only customers, but mainly distributors, to go out there and help the world transform and help the world change. Business is up 1,700% with Purium, and I recommend that everybody give it a good, honest look. And if people are looking to get on a successful entrepreneur team with successful check practitioners, sports fitness professionals, holistic health. I mean, I've got colon hydrotherapists. I've got 3 naturopaths. I got an osteopath that I work with. Just on my team alone, the company's got hundreds more. And so if you're aligned with holistic health at all, get with Scott, get with me, have a good look. If you come through this podcast, through it, we'll definitely put you on Scott's team. I'm building teams all over the world, guys. So have an honest look at what we're doing, workingwithtroy.com.
It's awesome. I will attest. It works so much wonders. I gave it a row and did it for 10 days, and then I ended up doing it 4 more times. So, hey, and that's just me personally. And I've had some of my other clients. I've had about 30, 40 clients on it at this point, and I can't tell you what. There's no better praise for this product. It actually is one of those products that works. So I will make sure that everybody gets to you, and I'll be sure to tag you when I load this up to YouTube and Facebook and everything, and we'll make sure it gets out to everybody everywhere, man. Got a good message. I appreciate it, brother. Thanks. Give your family my love, and I will chat with you soon.
Yeah, thanks so much, Scott. Have a great day.
You too.